Good to have you back on Africa 24. We are here in Marrakesh, Morocco on the occasion of the 14th US-Africa Business Summit. Today we'll be receiving on set Mrs. Florie Liser. She's the President and CEO of the Corporate Council on Africa and the US Assistant Trade Representative for Africa. Thank you for joining us, Ms. CEO. So can you please tell us what is the mission of the Corporate Council on Africa, an institution which is seemingly unknown by many Africans?
Well, we were established almost 30 years ago in 1993. We'll be celebrating our 30th birthday next year. And it was established to really bring together governments on both the US and the African side with private sector leaders, because we all know that economic growth, both here in Africa and in the United States, is really driven by the private sector-led growth. It's what creates the jobs, and it's what attracts investment into countries in manufacturing. And so CCA has been around for almost 30 years, and we see ourselves as providing the access, connections, and insights needed to do business successfully in Africa.
So can you just give us your view, like the idea? You are an organizer of this summit. Can you just give us an idea behind this summit, what it's all about, and your views?
So our theme for this year's summit was building forward together, and we wanted to talk about this important moment when countries and companies are re-emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as now the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. And we wanted to talk about how this is a really good time to be thinking about re-emerging and reimagining your business on the continent.
So what are the key sectors in Africa that we should expect to see increased US investment after the summit? After the summit, what next?
Well, so after the summit, one of the things that happens at the summit is the opportunity for people in the private sector to meet with each other, to connect, and to talk about potential partnerships and potential deals that they could cut. In terms of the key sectors, we're looking at energy transition, so that everyone is looking at net zero because of the climate change issues. So there are a lot of opportunities for investment into renewable energy. Health. It is so important to invest in the resiliency of the African healthcare system. And CCA is honored to have members, for example, like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Gilead, MSD, Abbott. These are all members of CCA. And we have a health security and resilience initiative. So health security in Africa, the ability to produce vaccines, medical equipment here on the continent. Africa should not have to wait for other countries to be able to get the medical and pharmaceutical supplies that they need. So that's one sector. Agribusiness is another one that's really critical. ICT and digital transformation. This is another area that is really important for Africa. And financing. We had a number of sessions, including with US institutional investors that manage pension funds and high net worth individuals, foundations. And we had sessions that talked about how can those institutions invest in infrastructure in Africa. And we were really pleased to have Africa 50 as our partner for the summit.
So with a population of about 1.3 billion people, what can Africa do in order to pull a win-win economic deal from such a partnership with the US? Because as you know, the balance of payment deficit has always been a problem to African countries.
Well, I think the key right now is not so much whether there's a balance of payments deficit or you have a positive balance, because the key issue is what are the partnerships that you can develop. And I would just think that for the 1.3 billion people in Africa, the key is the fact that the African Continental Free Trade Area, which covers the entire continent, has been launched. It started to be implemented this year. And it's a game changer for Africa to both increase intra-African trade amongst African countries, but also to allow Africa to trade more competitively with the rest of the world. And just as an example, all the markets, many of the markets in Africa are small. So US investors and other investors come and they say, well, should I invest here or should I invest there? But the African Continental Free Trade Area means that you can invest in one country in Africa and have access to all of them. So again, this is a game changer, and we were really honored to have the Secretary General of the AFCFTA Secretariat, who sits in Accra and has been assigned by the African heads of state to be responsible for implementing this very important agreement.
So, Madam Liser, at a time when Africa is talking about leveraging the potential of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is considered to be the largest free area in the world, don't you think the U.S. presence is a setback to this ambition?
Don't I think that the U.S. what?
Don't you think the U.S. presence is a setback to the ambition of the biggest African Continental Free Trade Area?
No, I think the U.S. presence is really important because, again, the U.S. is one of the largest single country markets in the world. And if the U.S. and our private sector, the U.S. government and our private sector, can work hand in hand with the African governments, with the African Union, and with the African private sector, then we can be your partners and collaborators in realizing the vision of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
So a World Bank report in 2020 stated that the AFCFTA has a possibility of raising income by 7% and lifting close to about 50 million Africans out of poverty by 2035. Yet Africans are reticent to implement this deal. What do you think is the reason for this sluggishness, and what do you think can be done to address the situation?
Well, I think, we're looking at patterns that have existed for Africa in terms of its trade for a long time. Africa today still accounts for only 3% of all global trade, and it attracts only 1.7% of all global FDI, foreign direct investment. And so what we have to look at now are what are the areas and sectors where this can change? How can we incentivize investment into key sectors in Africa and build up Africa's industrial base, add value to its products, so it's not just exporting raw commodities and importing manufactured products. Africa has the ability to manufacture products here and add value to its own products, whether it's diamonds or cashews or copper, whatever it may be. And I think that there are some areas where, for example, Africa has strategic minerals like cobalt, and these are important, for example, for the batteries that will go into electric vehicles. So this is a good time to invest in Africa in manufacturing batteries for electric vehicles, because we know they will rapidly replace vehicles that depend on petroleum and fossil fuels. So again, this is a great time to do that.
All right, so thank you so much, ma'am, for answering our questions.
Can I add one thing that was important that happened this week? One of the most important announcements that was made, we had a video message from Vice President Kamala Harris on the first day during our opening ceremony. And she announced that the United States government will be hosting the Africa Leaders Summit on December 13th to 15th of this year. And this is very important. The last time it happened was in 2014 under President Obama. So we thank the Biden-Harris administration for being focused on Africa and realizing the importance of Africa and our African partners. And we look forward, CCA looks forward to welcoming African heads of state, ministers and private sector from Africa to the U.S. for the Africa Leaders Summit in December.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presence.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was it for this interview. Thank you for watching. We have more programs coming up on Africa 24.